All right. So release notes, we did have a little point release, nothing to really call out on that. Before I start, I do want to jump down to the bottom of the release notes. Thank all of our contributors. We had contributions from 3 organizations again. This time, so Bywater, PTFS Europe, and Tech A Solutions all contributed. So thanks everybody. Like obviously, Aspen wouldn't be what it is without everybody's contributions. Um, a few things that aren't really demoable, but do want to talk about. So first, with Alita, we fixed over a dozen different little bugs and issues and that kind of things that were annoying people. We always like to get those out of the way and make sure that it's all looking clean. So that was one of the big focuses this time. Another thing that's hard to show is accessibility updates, but that's something that we've definitely been working on this time. Kirsten's been doing lots of work on that as well as Lita. So we had a library do an accessibility report. We've been cleaning up some different things. We'll see that cleanup over the next couple of releases. I think Jordan will talk more about that, but lots of cool stuff there. Again, a little hard to demo in this setting, but cool stuff so that Aspen's available to everybody. Same kind of thing with like API updates. It's not all that exciting to talk to show because they're all like computers talking to each other. Not that cool. Also wanted to mention the official repository for Aspen has changed. It is now github.com/Aspen Discovery/Aspen Discovery. And there's right now one sub project as well beyond that. So there's Schema Spy. This is something that Kyle at Bywater put together to be able to browse the database. So that generates a link here. It will be versioned. So right now we just have the current version, but if we click into that, we can get a list of all of the tables, which there's a ton. And then you can do stuff like start to see some of the like relationships between them and that kind of thing. So if we click into, where's library? Our library table is connected to everything. So we'll click in there and then we can start to see all of the different things that it relates to and that kind of thing. So cool way just to get some more information on that. And click on relationships as well. So see all of the things that connect and that kind of thing. So mostly cool for developers, but yeah, good thing to have. Moving into some more of the coding, we have a brand new event integration. So we have an event integration with Aspen. So in this case, I've got a couple of different event sources indexed, but this Girl Scout Troop 007 monthly meeting is one of the Aspen ones. You can click onto it, get information. This works exactly the same as all of our other event integrations. So very cool. Cody's been working on that. It's really awesome. So yeah, we've got lots of libraries that are really excited for that Aspen integration. Setup's super easy. You don't need like special passwords or anything. You basically just drop the URL in. So super easy to set up for your libraries. We also, so I'm going to click back here. We've been doing a lot on format determination. One of the big things that we've had that's been tricky for years and has been a little, well, annoying, is the way format was determined for grouping was different um, the from the way it was when it actually displayed in search results. So every once in a while we'd get something where it was like, in this case, it's defined as a book, and in another case, it was a movie. We went through, we consolidated all of that logic. So now for grouping, it's using the same logic as it is for displaying the actual search results. So that's going to really improve a lot of our grouping. So especially things like video games, that was one of the places where we would see sometimes it'd be a movie, sometimes it'd be a book. lots of tickets on that. It's definitely been a tricky thing. We will have a call for additional testing at the end of this as well. Um, so really cool there. We also, based off of, it's been the priority one for the community for almost a year to separate graphic novels and e-comics. So we've done that. So let's take a look at that. So here we've got Big Nate blasts off. We can see that most of these are books and e-audio books and ebooks and audio and Wonderbook. There's a second one that's e-comic. So this is Boundless. So as part of this integration, we've also done a lot to say what is a comic or graphic novel based off each individual e-content source. So Boundless, we've got e-comics being defined. We've got the same thing for Cloud Library. So we've got two different ones. In this case, maybe one of those is, they're classified separately. So we get the e-comic from Cloud Library and the book from just the ILS. So very cool there. Another one, so Kite Runner. So this is one of the ones that we've been asked about repeatedly, is getting that one out. So up at the top here, we see the main Cloud Library where we've got book and audiobooks and ebooks with the original version, large prints, preloaded audios. And then if we go down a little bit, we'll see that graphic novel version. So that will now show separately. So hopefully people will not be as confused. Also updated again, all of those rules a lot. So we can see there's the Libby ones that are showing as e-comic now grouped with the physical one. Another one here. So we've got Memory Police. Oh, actually, this is showing a different thing. Sorry. Another super popular thing that we've wanted. So here's the last one that I was going to show. So this is Hoopla with e-comic. So Hoopla also shows now the e-comic. So very cool. We really like having this separated out. Looking for feedback as we look at everybody's individual collections as well to make sure that all of that format determination is the way you want it. But we've implemented all the rules we know of so far. The next thing is, this is hard to show, but we've had people saying, hey, the author being displayed for a grouped work has been a little bit random. Essentially, the display author for the grouped work has been whatever record is last in the indexing, and we've updated it now to be more like display titles, where it's based off the physical materials first. Technically, anything with a format category of books first. So that gives you a lot more control to say, like, hey, if Overdrive doesn't have the author quite the way you want it, you can make sure that it's overridden if you have your own. The display info will also trump that. So hopefully a lot more cases where, in this case, I think both Libby and Boundless have the O without the accent over it. So cool thing there. We're really looking forward to that. Going back to the release notes, we've added a ton of new formats. So this was during the catalogers meeting, actually. We had, I forget who brought it up exactly, but we had several libraries say, hey, we want to do additional checking of the 008 field based off where the leader is. We added these, I think, 19 formats. So lots of cool new formats to show up to help people. The original driver of that was the game format. So let's go take a look at that at Wild. So here I'm just doing a blank search. We can do a format. And we see that we now have 867 games that we didn't have before. If we click into that, we can see we've got Puzzle Exchange and Jigsaw puzzles and Wii consoles and Mermaid Island, all kinds of cool stuff there. So more ways to help patrons get to the materials they want and better understand our collections. let's go back. There's one more that I thought was cool. Let's just do a blank search. So like we've got search for model. So we've got models there. We can see we've got some dental models and primary tooth models. So all the things, who would know until you can actually find it by format. Really cool stuff. So our friends in Europe also have contributed some enhancements to cookie tracking. So I don't know that this is being used a lot in the US, but definitely used a lot in the UK. So we've always, or for 6-9 months, we've had the ability to accept all cookies or essential cookies. We did think about like, hey, when JavaScript is embedded, that can sometimes be something that's tracking. So if you're using like your own analytics platform that does do tracking um, of patron interactions with the site, you might not want that to apply all the time. So here I'm logged out. If I say, hey, I only want, well, let's say I want all cookies and refresh here. So here I've got a JavaScript where this JavaScript is displayed. Tell me that tracking is enabled. This would certainly do something more interesting than putting a banner up. It would probably log into a stats database someplace. Then I can go through and, so I'm just going to go through and get rid of that cookie since I'm logged out. Here's my cookie. We've got lots of Google Analytics and stuff on here as well. There's our cookie consent. I'm just going to delete that to go back to untracked. So if we accept all, we did get that tracking banner because we have accepted it. We don't get it before we've consented. So if we say only accept essential cookies, we're not going to actually get that banner again. If we sign in, in this case, I've opted out. So patrons in your account settings, as part of your preferences, you can control your cookies as well. So if I say I don't want analytics cookies, then it would not allow those. So there we've got our tracking is enabled because we've got that turned on. The way this works in the JavaScript snippets, we have a new checkbox for whether or not the snippet contains analytics cookies or that it needs to respect those. So nice way for you to control it. So like if you've got a chat widget or something, you can display that to everybody. If it's more tracking, then you don't. So cool new functionality there. Another popular request we've had, we have a new integration with Novelist. So this is really cool. So here we've got just Mockingjay up. We have the ability now, so similar to how we had for Syndetics Unbound, we can now show a Novelist, and this displays their kind of all-in-one display that most people have had if you've had a previous OPAC. So all of your similar series and Story Finder and all of that good information that you can click through, along with links out to Novelist and that kind of thing. So here we could click in and say, oh, I want to learn more about the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. So we can jump into that. So the way that is configured is in your grouped work display settings. There is, under the full record options, you have the ability to now turn on the Novelist all-in-one. If you do that, you may want to turn off the like individual sections for similar series and similar series from Novelist, similar titles from Novelist, similar authors from Novelist, you can just delete those if you don't want those spread out into individual sections. Otherwise, you're just displaying redundant data. So save that. Now, when we refresh, we're going to lose the also in this series, or still got the also in this series. We're going to lose the similar titles from Novelist and that kind of thing, and just have the main Novelist. That can, of course, then also be automatically expanded. So if we uncheck collapse by default, patrons will see that. So this is the same Novelist Select integration. It's just using their JavaScript integration rather than the APIs that we've been using in the past. So just a little bit different way of doing that. We also added the ability within system variables. So some people, we've got the ability to say like, hey, we're loading the series information from Novelist. If you click onto that, that's where we go to the dedicated page that lists them in order. We've been working with Novelist on cleaning up some of the data. So especially some of the manga and comics get tricky depending on how ISBNs are indexed and that kind of thing. So we've added within system variables the ability to disable the Novelist series integration. So if I uncheck that and then refresh, let's go into one of these. So now when we display the series information, we're not going to show the Novelist data. We're just going to show the information that we're getting from the bib records, from the e-content sources, that kind of thing. So gives you a little bit more control because it's using the information in your catalog or the display info and that kind of thing. So just a little bit more control for you. The other thing that does is disable the also in this series list, because that was driven by Novelist as well. Then the last thing I wanted to show, go ahead and log out here. So we've got custom forms if you're using Web Builder. So previously what would happen is if you were logged out and you logged in, it would I think it wouldn't actually even get you to the right place, but it certainly wasn't bringing you back here. So now when we log in, we get taken back to the same URL, and then we can update whatever we need to. So nice workflow improvements there for libraries and patrons. Very cool stuff. That will also work for quick polls, so it'll redirect to that URL alias. Go back to the release notes real quick. Couple other little things I wanted to call out. So for Sierra, we had some cases where when item level holds were being placed, all items were being shown as available even if they were checked out. That has been corrected now. I don't have an easy demo for that, but those will now show checked out if the status is dash and it has a due date, which is Sierra's way of indicating that something is checked out. Also, lots more things that we've done. A lot we won't go into. We are doing a lot more with testing and unit testing, especially related to like formats and that kind of thing. So just more good things to help make it easier for us to develop and deliver good code to you. Lots of other things updated as well. So please check out the release notes. This will deploy to everybody with a test server tonight. And all of your comics and graphic novels should look good in the morning. It will take the overnight index to do that. But with that, I will turn it back over. Who am I turning it over to? Morgan?
I think to Jordan. You can just
Jordan.
Super quick comment. Yeah, normally this is where we do our LIDA demo. And this month we did have, I think 14, 15 LIDA improvements, but they're all based on partner priorities, little tweaks to existing features or small improvements. So we're not going to do the demo since it's all stuff you've already seen. But do please check out the release notes if you have, if you put in something for LIDA, and maybe one of those 14 or 15 things was one of the things that we tackled. That's the only LIDA update this time, and I'll hand it over to Morgan.